All right. Hello and welcome to Cheat Code Radio episode number 24, a show to bear, if you will. So it's another week. We took last week off because, it was a holiday on Monday for me and then the American long weekend on a Tuesday, which there's something obscenely wrong about having a long weekend on a Tuesday, making you go to work for one day and then go to work for 3 days. But I digress.
It
Um,
doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. You can get away with it where it's like, you're off on Thursday, you come back Friday, then you go back to the weekend. I think that's fine, but in reverse, that was the longest 3-day week.
Dude, there was a day. So Canada Day always falls on the first of the month, no matter where it is. And I think it was a year or two ago. It landed on a Wednesday. I was so pissed because it was just like, oh, I have Wednesday off work. So he woke up in the morning and we're like, I guess I'm gonna go do something, but I still have to work tomorrow, so it's not gonna be that fun.
Yeah, I mean, I like a Wednesday. It's a nice break in the middle of the week, but if you're trying to do something with that time, yeah, it sucks. But if you're
Yeah.
just trying to have a day off, just take a Wednesday off.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, cool. Take a Wednesday. Take a Wednesday. Yeah, there's inherently something different than taking a personal day versus having a holiday
Yeah.
in the middle of the week.
Like, you don't feel guilty about it. You don't feel guilty about taking the time off because it's like, I mean, everybody's got it off. Like, all right, whatever, fine.
Yeah,
So,
if you take a personal day on like a Wednesday, nobody, everyone's like, oh, he must be sick or something. If you take a personal day on a Monday or Friday, nobody believes you. I've literally been in the hospital and like had a bracelet the day I came back to work on a Tuesday, and they're like, I bet that's an old photo. I'm like, okay, whatever. But what can you do? It's another great week though, and we get to talk about video games. But I've once again, hopscotched and skipped the intros. So joining me, as always, is the intrepid Ivan Seiler.
hey, everybody. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into this. I'm going to be honest. We were really banking on Judge Corley having an answer by now. We were like, oh, man. Like, if she's got that answer by Monday night, we know she's a Cheat Code Radio fan.
Well, we now officially know Judge Corley is not a Cheat Code Radio fan. So
Disappointed. I would argue collusion, but I don't have actual evidence. But hey, when has that ever stopped anybody before?
who needs evidence?
Evidence is lame. Oh, by the way, Judge Corley is trending on Twitter at this point.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's wild. But yeah, so this is like not like a real topic, unless it is one of your real topics. That's what I ask you about this. So last week we kind of saw this random thing happen with Threads getting released and released early. Got released on a Wednesday. They were supposed to have it like at 7 p.m. or it was 7 a.m. on Thursday, but they dropped it early at 7 p.m. on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to get your impressions on this, Nick. Like, what did you think of Threads? Because I know you and I both signed up for it. I kind of want to give, I know there's a lot of people who are on the fence of like, is this like a real replacement for Twitter? Or like, where do you kind of land on this?
So it's really weird. What I like about Threads is it forces you to use your Instagram account. And now I understand that people don't necessarily like that force because, having separation between your social medias can be nice and whatnot. But what I love about that is it forces more accountability to how you act. Like, I've legitimately seen people post, I have family on my Instagram, so I have to behave on Threads. It's early, but there seems to be a lot less nonsensical bullshit on Threads at this moment because you can't just throw a Gmail account into it and have an account.
Well, let's rephrase that. It's not nonsensical bullshit. I mean, there is the right kind of nonsensical bullshit, but yeah, at least right now, I will say, Threads is like Twitter from 8 years ago, but with just more accountability.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of how I get to it. I mean, I'm not at all worried about the linking of Instagram or whatever. You can make your Instagram private.
Yeah.
So whatever. And you can also hide your Threads badge on Instagram. So you could separate the two. It's not a big problem. But it's just it's one of those things where it's like, oh no, I gotta go through this crap. And so also too, I think it makes it a pain in the ass for like spam and bots. Because now you got to create 2 accounts, merge one over, and it's like it just feels like a giant like annoyance.
Yeah.
So I will say on that level, it's interesting. Like I said, there's a couple things that are missing. Like there's no GIF support, like in terms of like a native GIF searching tool. But I mean, I just do what I do old school anyway. I just go look for what I'm looking for on Google and save it. So. But other than that, I mean, I think it's fine. I think the upload quality on like pictures and stuff is great.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never realized it before. I watched one of my friends, I think it was Lady Infamous, actually posted the same clip on Twitter and the same clip on Threads, and it's just actually clear on Threads. I was like, oh my god, Twitter compression! I've just gotten so used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that's. There's a lot of features that are better, and there's some things I'm like kind of worried about. I know for me, like the top things I'm looking for is the first one is like a trending tab, because like right now all you can do is just search for like people, and I would need a trend. I want to see a trending tab to see what's going on. If they get that, I think I'm done with Twitter. Like that's the only thing I really use Twitter for at this point is to follow what's trending. So I just don't. If they don't have that, it's going to really limit my usage of Threads. But beyond that, I mean, I'd like a little more color on there, but that's like minor. So I'm not like really pissed off about that or anything. So
see, it's kind of interesting because I kind of like the stuff that like people are posting on Threads, like because like there's a lot of creator types, like they do a lot of link dumping and everything else, but like Threads kind of seems to be this weird vibe where no one's trying to like push content right now, and they're just like, hey, I'm having this for breakfast, or I'm playing this game, or wherever. Everyone seems really like relaxed on it. Like I'm sure it's out there, but I haven't really seen any like Threads discourse, and I'm sure it's just because it's a young budding social media website, but it just has a different vibe than Twitter right now, which is great because the vibe on Twitter sucks half the time.
Yeah, I have to curate my feed pretty hard on Twitter, so mostly because I'm tired of seeing like all the nonsense. Like literally, once this FTC stuff is done, like I'm gonna be unfollowing like a bunch of people. So I just want this to be done. So I'm just tired.
Yeah.
So that way I can move on with my life. But hey, we'll see about that. But yeah, they're like at 100 million people already. It hasn't even been a week.
That's insane.
So that's good growth. Like I actually, if you had to guess how many like monthly active users there are on Twitter, what would you guess?
That's a really good question because like, because like it feels really conflated because like they do have a bot problem and that bot problem's gotten way worse lately.
Yeah.
I know because the promo tweet I did for this got 8 likes and they're all from accounts that are like Jessica with 29 numbers after, and she wants a very serious relationship. And my email account, weird. I don't know, like a couple of 100 million, I would think.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like optimistic. Like, I've never really thought about that. It's like, how many people use Facebook on a month-to-month basis? Like, how many people use Twitter? How many, like, we talk about monthly active users in video games, but we never talk like what social media monthly active users look like.
Yep. So for monthly active users, so they had a really big point of growth over COVID, and now they're shrinking back to it's basically course correction, really. So like I'll give you a couple years. So for 2019, the average monthly active users, we'll do 2018 onward. So 2018 was 321 million people on a monthly basis. This is just anybody who logs in on a monthly basis.
Oh, okay.
But the daily is about 200 million. There's about 200 million people who log in daily. But 321. But 209. Sorry, in 2019 it was 330. 2020 was 353. 2021 was almost 400 million people. But now it's gone back down about 350. So it's COVID spiked the numbers up because people were inside and paying attention. But yeah, this was also election year. So, but yeah, it's gone down. It's about 350 million. They've stated for Threads that they want to get about 1 billion users before they start looking at like advertising. But I mean, hey, if it continues at this rate, they'll hit that number.
Yep.
Like the year. So we'll see how that goes. But that's concerning to see how much that's grown, because that's like a third of Twitter's monthly user base.
Yeah.
It hasn't even been a week yet. So that's a big deal. But that's just something to keep an eye on. Just I thought that was an interesting little bit. So
yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll interesting to see how they drive growth. And I kind of like some of the talking points they've said about, for serious political stuff and discourse and stuff, you could stay on Twitter. We're not necessarily focused on being the town square, which I think is not the worst idea in the world. It's funny because you think of all the political nonsense I've seen on Facebook over the years for them to go, oh no, Threads is just a place where you have fun. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll believe it when I see it, but kumbaya and hold my hands up until this point. My whole feed is people's pets and food, and it's kind of like a weird blend of like Instagram and Twitter. So it's all right.
No. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with some of these topics. We're going back to the old format for now. Do you want to get the FTC thing out of the way since we're here first? I know it was on my list, but
I don't think I had it on my list, so why don't you kick us off here?
All right. So update for you guys about the FTC stuff. So right now, they have finished the hearing. We're just sitting here waiting for a response. A little bit of clarification because there's some misinformation floating around about how all this works. So let's talk about that for a minute. So rewind about a month ago, the FTC, that was back in like November or October. The FTC announced that they were going to be suing Microsoft, so they were going to do the admin court, which isn't scheduled to start till next month. But the deadline for the merger, this is the self-imposed deadline between Microsoft and Activision, is July 18th, which is 2 weeks from now. It'll be 2 weeks. No, next week. Yeah, it'll be next week. Yeah, sorry. So that'll be next week on Tuesday. That is the deadline for their merger, unless they decide they want to extend it or whatever. Mm-hmm. But at least in the initial agreement, that was the plan. So now, since Microsoft has said they had the intent to do something, the FTC kind of bumped things up and took it to federal court, which is what Microsoft's been wanting them to do instead of stalling. And so they asked for a temporary restraining order from the FTC, or sorry, from the appellate court, which is under Judge Corley. And Judge Corley is the same judge who saw the gamer lawsuit from earlier. So the situation is that normally when you get a temporary restraining order, it lasts only like 2 weeks, and you can increase that up to like another 2 weeks, depending on, like, oh, we got to get you to court. To kind of give you an idea of what a TRO or a temporary restraining order is that it's more of like imagine like the FTC and Microsoft are two kids fighting on the playground, and a TRO is the teacher coming in and saying like, hey, what's going on here? Everybody come inside. Let's figure out what's going on. Like, it's not permanent, but they're going to figure out what's going on. Like, that's really what it is. It doesn't last indefinitely. It only lasts for like 4 weeks at the max, unless Microsoft consents to extend it. So I can't imagine, knowing the deadline, they would have consented to do that, to extend the temporary restraining order. But the restraining order, if I recall correctly, and please somebody correct me, was put in place on like June 15th. And that would mean that it would expire by June 16th, because it only lasts for 2 weeks and they have the holiday in there, so that doesn't count. So, yeah, because of the 4th of July, that it's a business week. So it would go extend until the 16th. So the misinformation bit is that what happens with this decision. So they filed for the preliminary injunction, and that is a like multi-year long hold on it. It stops everything for a long time. And if they pass the preliminary injunction, that stops Microsoft from doing any acquisition until they go to court and get this settled, which could take a while. But because of the deadline, it may push things back even further. So we'll see how that part goes if that comes to it. But what people have been waiting for is they've been hearing something about a cooldown period, this 5-day cooldown period. So the 5-day cooldown period is not what some people have been talking about. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I just took business law in college. Like, I got a minor in it. Like, it's been 10 years since I've been here, but if like I'm just pulling off based on what I've read and what I can remember. But a preliminary injunction, if that is denied by the court, there is a 5-day cooldown period, so 5 business days, that prevents anybody from filing an appeal. So that would mean that the FTC, if they come out and they say, hey, preliminary injunction has been denied, the FTC can't file an appeal for 5 days. Same thing with Microsoft. If they granted the preliminary injunction, Microsoft can't file an appeal for 5 days. They can't do anything. So, in worst case scenario, if they grant the injunction, that's what would happen there. If the injunction's not granted, then Microsoft can close like immediately. They don't have to wait 5 days. That's purely just for an appeal. And that's if the court doesn't decide in their favor. Now, the other part that makes it interesting is that if Judge Corley doesn't come out and announce anything, because normally these kinds of cases are really big cases and they're going to have decisions like down to the wire. Like, it'll take like, I think like some of them take like a month. So like we'd be going into August at that point, which is after the deadline. She stated like, oh yeah, I'm going to try to make a decision before the deadline. Like, no promises though. Like, she's going to try to do something. But if they go beyond the temporary restraining order time period, so which is in like the 16th, Microsoft could just close the deal. And waiting for the preliminary injunction doesn't matter at that point. So, yay, Americans' judicial system and processes and regulations and all this kind of stuff. So much fun.
I can't wait till this is over. I've never been so uninvested in a gaming topic as I am with this deal at this point. I think the worst part is I think it's because it's like, it feels like it's so incredibly way off till we actually get a result that's actually meaningful to something. Like, it's like Call of Duty will continue to be Call of Duty. Diablo just released. Overwatch 2 just released. So it's like, it feels like until I see something like, from the Activision back catalog come back or something like that, it just feels like it's going to be like, all right, so we had to hear about this deal for 2 years or a year and a bit, and now it's another couple years before we start seeing stuff. It's just so hard to get excited about at this point. I am excited that it's almost over. Maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But
I remember to start the gameplay, so.
What's that? Oh, shit.
Remember to start the gameplay.
There we go. Whoops. But yeah, no, it's. I can't. I think the most amusing thing for me is going to be watching the reactions to it, because since I have no investment on it either being blocked or unblocked, I just get to watch the full unmitigated meltdowns of both sides.
It's gonna be a crazy time either way. Like I said, I've said this since the beginning. I don't personally care about Call of Duty. For me, it was never about Call of Duty. The only thing I genuinely care about is Toys for Bob. That's all. That's all I care about. Because you get Toys for Bob, it was worth it.
See, you and me are the same. Toys for Bob's the goal here. Like that, and I can't believe that Phil Spencer would spend $70 billion so I can play that one Wolfenstein game. What a G.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, that's all. We're in a holding pattern right now. I'm checking Twitter voraciously to see how this goes. So we're all waiting.
I did see a great meme that was shared, and you remember the sloth from Zootopia, and it was Judge Corley waiting to make her decision. He's just slowly rising the stamp.
I saw one where it's like Judge Corley on her way to the phone to call the parties. They had like Michael Scott from The Office walking really slow. Like,
I will say the acquisition memes have been kind of hilarious. I will give them that. Like the people whining and complaining and arguing has been but some of the memes that have come out of it have been pretty great.
Yeah, it's been fun, but I hope the whole thing is over. I'm just so tired of it. Like, let's just be done with this. But all right, that was my topic. What you got, sir? What's on your plate?
All right. So we got. What do I have written down here first? We got today's stuff. We'll get today's stuff out of the way. So EA announced that Black Panther game is in development at a new internal studio led by Kevin Stevens, who previously oversaw Monolith when it made Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor and Middle-earth: Shadow of War. So that's pretty cool.
We're gonna have a short episode tonight, aren't we? Like, we chose the same topics twice.
Well, listen. The problem is I say we're post E3, whatever. We're gonna call it Wii 3. It's gonna be Wii 3 now because it's a week of gaming news. It's Wii 3. So we're post Wii 3 now. Okay, you know what? I actually hate that a lot. I wish I could undo that now.
Wait. Are you announcing Nintendo's new console, the Wii 3?
Oh my god. Comes with 3
the Wii 2 and the Wii 3.
The Wii 2.
Oh, Wii U, never mind. But me and you make 2, so that counts.
Oh my god.
Oh, we and you make 2.
All right. So no, we're not doing this. Electronic Arts has announced the Black Panther game is in development, and they developed a new studio in order to make it, which is Cliffhanger Games. They've got various people that have worked on Halo, God of War, and Call of Duty, according to EA. It's an original third-person single-player Black Panther game, and the quote is, "We want to enable our players to feel what it's like to be worthy of the Black Panther mantle in unique and story-driven ways. And we want Cliffhanger Games to empower everyone on our team so we collaborate to bring this amazing world to life." So super generic, we just opened the studio statements, generally.
Yeah. Didn't they have a leak like last year or something about this already?
No, you're thinking the Sky. There's Amy Henning's studio is doing.
What was the game where it's like Captain America and like Black Panther World War II?
What?
Yeah, there was like some game or something like that. I remember reading about this, and they had like art for it, where it was like Captain America and Black Panther and somebody else during World War II as a game. Maybe it was the Captain America game they were talking about.
Hold on. Amy Henning. No, is Amy Henning making a Star Wars game? Yeah, no, Amy Henning's making a Star Wars game. No, never mind. I'm all backwards here. But I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm not overly invested in Marvel in general. Uh, like Spider-Man games are awesome because I love Spider-Man. Black Panther game, gonna be pretty cool. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I found it. I found it. Yeah, no. It was Black Panther, Captain America game. Uh, yeah, no, I was right. Yeah, this was last year in September. It was yeah, Amy Hennig. Yeah, no, this is Amy Hennig. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, no, it was Amy Hennig. She's working on that. So
But she's working on a Star Wars game too.
they're putting her to work. Okay, she's got to make up for being out of the industry for 10 years.
She hasn't. She's just suffered the same problem Jade Raymond did. Is every project she joins gets overhauled and canceled. But yeah, what do you think? Will you play a Black Panther single player game? Are you Wakanda forever? Or are you Wakanda sometimes?
Okay, so this is what I'm gonna say. When I was in middle school, I was a comic book nerd. You know how like you're riding on the bus or you're riding a long car ride, and you always would imagine like, oh, what if like someone was running like right next to the bus or running right next to the car, like as you're going like 60, 70 miles an hour down the highway or something, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I used to imagine Black Panther. so yes, I would gladly play a Black Panther game. Frodo, get down from here. My own Black Panther. But no, like I used to imagine T'Challa running around the right beside the bus, or like doing leaps off of stuff, because we didn't have big buildings where I lived, so it was just like doesn't make sense for Spider-Man to be here. It'd be dumb.
Dude, I remember telling my parents when I was a kid, I was like, I hate this town. Spider-Man would never exist here. I'm like, there's like 3 buildings he could swing off, and there's still only 3 stories high.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll play. Like, my only frame of reference is the MCU movies. I like the Black Panther movie. I think he's got a really cool set of skills that would translate well to a single player superhero game. And honestly, I'm all for diving into these single player superhero games. I just do not care about these loot driven ones. Like, I could, as soon as you're like, it's loot focused, I tone out. I don't care. I like, no. Like,
Yeah, for me, I would like for superhero video games, I am down to play. I'm just really tired of Spider-Man games specifically, because it like, unless you're doing something like really unique with this, like I'm talking like really off the wall shit here, I'm not really interested.
that's fair.
And I'm like remixing the remixing the Spider-Man Venom lore. I don't care about. It's like, all right, whatever. We've done this before.
Yeah, and
Like, you gotta do something really weird.
and I think they have to be careful too. Is I think because I like, you can chime in on this, of course, more than I can, but there definitely seems to be an overall tiredness with the Marvel IPs in general. Like, it's to the point where people are like, oh, I hope they don't do anything weird with Deadpool 3, because like, we just want it to be more Deadpool, right?
Yeah.
And I think we finally hit a point with Marvel where people are like, can we just have good movies and not everything needing to be a cohesive vision? And my fear with that is, I feel like we're starting to shape up towards them making a Marvel game-o-matic universe, with Insomniac Games doing the Spider-Man games. And like, I'm interested to see, like, are we gonna tie some Wolverine stuff in there? Like, are we gonna try to tie all this stuff together? Can we keep it separate? Myself personally, I hope they keep it separate. I just want to go in, enjoy a like confined experience, and then walk out of it and not have to think about it again.
I don't think they're gonna do that, man. There's too much legal crap at that point. Like, I just can't see them doing it. Like the MCU only worked because it was all done under Disney. So I mean, well, you know what I mean. Um,
Yeah,
but it was able to be controlled and directed by one person, and game development is a whole nother beast.
yeah.
Because like when you're doing a regular movie, with outside of COVID, you can crank that thing out in like 2 years or less. But a game, no. Like you can't crank it out that fast. And like imagine you having to talk to like 3 different people, or like not three or four different studios also working on their own projects. Not gonna happen. I just don't see it now. Like between Spider-Man and Wolverine, sure, but like everything else, no. I just don't see it happening. So, I don't know. Like I said, I just want to see weird stuff at this point. And like for me, I know this is at least in terms of the Marvel movies, I just don't care anymore. Like I've been tuned out ever since like Endgame. I may watch something, but like I've not been able to really like sit down and watch anything and be like, yeah, that was a really good time. I enjoyed that. Like ever since then, I still haven't finished Black Widow. I haven't finished Captain Marvel. I haven't finished. I slogged through because I was watching with Megan. I watched Quantumania with Ant-Man, but like everything else, I just don't have the momentum or care to do it. Like Secret Invasion, don't care. I just it's just getting rough. I think the only thing I actually like watched and like really 100% enjoy was probably Loki, and that's mostly just because there's a bunch of comic book references.
Yeah.
So
I think the last MCU movie I watched was the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that for what it was. But
Yeah.
once again, it just had too much tie-in bullshit. And I just don't care. Like
Yeah, I mean,
like
you gotta do some gimmick to get me interested. Like Spider-Man: No Way Home was not that good of a movie. It just the only thing that made it really good was seeing Tobey Maguire again. That was it. Like I just didn't care about the rest of it. It's like, all right, well, but like if you took Toby out of it, it was like, hey, we just brought Alfred Molina back, and we brought Willem Dafoe back to be the Green Goblin. It's like I don't care.
and I think
These people don't matter anymore.
I think the biggest problem with a lot of I feel like the MCU in this phase just doesn't have direction. Like I think they're trying to do too many they're trying to branch out into all these things to try and make a collective, and you have to watch this, you watch this, watch this. I don't think Endgame, like the lead up to Endgame and like Infinity War, was that complicated to follow.
No.
But like having to watch 5 full-fledged series and then watch a bunch of movies on top of it is just such a tall ask to me.
Yeah, just asking people to watch the movies is not that big a deal. But like, what is it? It's like talking about Star Wars. It's like to me, the Star Wars universe is just the movies. Like I don't like watching a show is like fun fan fiction to me.
Yeah.
Like, well, that was cool, and that's about it. Like,
yeah, no, I agree. Like I like the Mandalorian. I think Mandalorian's really good.
Oh sure, Mandalorian's a really fun watch, but
like that's just because it's Star Wars Western. That's why it's fun.
But it's doing its own thing. It's not worried about like what's the larger impact on the universe and we gotta save the galaxy. It's not worried about that. I'm fine. I like that.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. It's like we talk about in RPGs and stuff. And actually, I comment on one of Doc's threads about it, and he was talking about how he's really sick and tired of playing RPGs where you're the chosen one, and I just want to play an RPG where I'm the farmer and the hero comes through my town and kicks the shit out of my house, and I'm like, great, now I gotta fix my house, you asshole. But yeah, I don't. The MCU is such a mess right now, and everyone's trying to do these cohesive universes, and they're just.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that with the games at all. I know they've already said they're not going to try to, so I just don't. And also, Disney's really late to the party with this because they control Lucasfilm. It's like the fact that they're just now starting to do this stuff is stupid.
Yeah.
Like the fact they just 2 years ago did a deal for Indiana Jones is really dumb.
Yeah.
Because that game's not going to be out for another 2 to 3 years. And it's like, all right, well, Dial of Destiny's already come out and gone. People already forgotten about it. And it's like, oh yeah, Indiana Jones. Remember that?
Remember that god-awful movie that didn't make all its money back? We're now relying on the Machine Games game to keep the IP alive.
Yeah. So they're just really late to the party for a lot of this. It's like, all right, well, fine.
Yeah. No, and
Anyway.
see, as long as these games are like their own contained adventures, I'm perfectly fine with this. I will play a Spider-Man game. I will play a Wolverine game. I will play a Black Panther game. As long as you make this...
I just thought about this. A Black Panther game set in the late 1800s.
Ooh.
If they could do something where it's like, hey, this is advanced technology for this time, and like it's basically modern day tech now in the late 1800s, that would be cool. I'd be like, all right, let's like you work yourself up to it. You don't have to do T'Challa every time. Like, it would be cool. I mean, sure, fine, I'll settle for T'Challa, but I would rather see some like weird time displaced stuff, or like go to a different place, just somewhere different out of the ordinary. Like really explore the universe. The Marvel universe is huge. Like the fact that we've everything we've seen in like all the MCU is like 10% of the Marvel universe. Yeah. Like we got a lot more to work with. So you could do way more cool stuff, but anyway. But at least movie wise, I need weird crossover stuff in order to keep me interested in the movies. Like
the one Marvel thing I love front to back is the what was it called? The what if? No. What if?
Oh yeah, what if? That's right.
Yeah. I enjoyed every one of those because as someone who doesn't have a lot of comic knowledge, it was so weird to watch.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. I really genuinely enjoyed a lot of the episodes of that. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some episodes that were better than others, but a lot of them were really cool.
Yeah. But for me, like, I don't care about what if stuff. I care about, like, I want to see Punisher go up against Archie. I want to see Batman versus Predator.
I did.
Like, I want
to see Predator versus Archie.
Oh, dude, no. No, Punisher versus Archie, that's a real crossover event.
No, because all I can think of is John Bernthal's Punisher and, like, Archie and Jughead.
No, actually, the plot line, it was Punisher was trying to kill a mobster who looked like Archie, and Archie went to then he went to Riverdale to lay low, and Punisher thinks that Archie is this mobster.
That's a game I need. Stealth game. You have to hide from John Bernthal's Punisher.
No, it's a co-op. What is it? It's a co-op. Or no, it's not. What's the term for it? There's like an asymmetric. It's like, so basically imagine Deathloop, except Archie, you're running away from Punisher.
All right, I think we're printing money at this point with these ideas.
Dead Anchor Productions, baby.
All right, buddy, your next topic up.
All right, my next topic. So let's talk about Baldur's Gate for a minute. So I just find this funny that, like, with Larian Studios, so the basic gist of it and why it's kind of like important is that Larian bumped up the release for Baldur's Gate for the PC version to come out in August. Mm-hmm. But they're still keeping the early September release date for PlayStation. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really smart on their end because the PlayStation dudes are going to be rough during Starfield. They're going to have a rough time. So they got to have something to play. And I think that they're fitting into that niche. That's fine. But also moving it up early helps them have time away from Starfield to save the PC crowd. Mm-hmm. So many people are still playing Baldur's Gate. And so you and I were talking about this like a couple weeks ago, Nick, that like Larian has done a really terrible job at marketing what Baldur's Gate is to the PlayStation community. Like, because every time they show something, it's always something completely unrelated. Like, oh, look, we got this voice actor. We got Jason Isaacs. We got Lucius Malfoy. Like, oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. That's cool. Oh, look at our character creation menu. Oh, yeah, that's really cool, too. But they never showed gameplay until they did. And the comments on that trailer are just all over the place. Like, everyone's like, what the hell is this? I thought this was like, is this Baldur's Gate? Is this what this is? And like, they're just surprised that it's like an isometric game. Like, it's like, yeah. What did you think this was? Did you think this was Skyrim?
So this is the funny thing. So Larian has been promoting Baldur's Gate 3 since basically outside of the cinematic trailer we saw at the Stadia presentation. Remember that? Baldur's Gate 3 was a Stadia exclusive at one point. Stadia died before Baldur's Gate 3 even came out. So how Larian's been showcasing Baldur's Gate 3 is they have something called Panel from Hell. And what Panel from Hell is it's all the gameplay changes that they were doing in early access and showing new gameplay features for the game. So basically, if you wanted to see more in depth on the game, you'd watch Panel from Hell. And then they'd have trailers that they'd release before these panels. That is what a lot of people have been looking at. Like the most recent one was a trailer released during the Panel from Hell. And a lot of people just... There's a lot of posers. That's all I'll say. A lot of people are jumping on the Baldur's Gate 3 train because it's the biggest IP next to Starfield right now. And
it's what they wanted Spider-Man to do, and Spider-Man got afraid, and they went to October. So,
and see, this is my thing. Is like I legitimately hate this because I hate that console tribalism has leaked into Baldur's Gate 3 of all things. Because like I've been not quietly, I've been enjoying Baldur's Gate for years on my own. And now there's all these people that are like, yeah, Baldur's Gate 3. I'm like, where you been, homie? Like, I've been alone in this fight for years at this point. And it just sucks to see it get sucked into console tribalism of people that don't actually know the game, don't actually care about the game. They're just trying to do some list war thing. Because anyone who legitimately loves RPGs is sitting there wiping their brow going, whew, at least I have a month before Starfield that I can actually dedicate to Baldur's Gate 3. Because this game's massive.
70 hours of cutscenes.
70 hours of cutscenes alone.
Dude, to put that in context, that's basically the entire Game of Thrones series plus the House of Dragon. And you still have like an odd 40 hours of just cutscenes.
Yep.
That's insane. That is overkill.
They said the average playthrough would take around probably 80 to 90 hours. But they said that players that like to explore, expand, and learn more about their different party members and like do party member specific quests and everything else, that you would clock closer to like 150 to 200 hours in a playthrough. Which I understand might be intimidating for a lot of people, but the thing is like, if you've been there since the beginning, you know how insanely big these games are. Like Baldur's Gate 2 Shadows of Am was across like, I don't know, 8 discs on PC. Plus there was an expansion DLC disc, so I think it was like 9 discs.
Jesus.
So like, this game was massive. Like it was legitimately like you would open up your world map to travel, right? And you'd select an area and it'd be like, insert disc 5. You'd insert disc 5, go there, do a quest, go back. It'd be like, insert disc 3. And then you'd insert disc 3. Like, you legitimately had mountains of discs to travel in this game. These games have always been massive. And it's cool to see Larian build on that. I agree with Barrett too. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to have an Elden Ring effect. A lot of people are going to buy it but not realize what they're signing up for. Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see once people actually get into it, how much they love it. Basically, if you love Divinity Original Sin 1 or 2, pick up Baldur's Gate 3. That's the most basic way I can put it, honestly.
I also find it funny that it's like they know this problem. See, this is the part I'm kind of like pissed off with them about, is that not only are they playing into the console war stuff, but I feel like they're intentionally mismarketing themselves, because they're not showing anything that people want to really, well, not, they don't want to see, but they're not showing anything that console players want to see.
No, because
like they're talking about everything else but what the gameplay is.
No, because the thing is this game's been in early access for 2 years now.
Yep, but just on PC.
Yeah,
and so,
but
yeah,
Larian is more concerned about catering to Baldur's Gate fans than catering to console fan base. They did this with Divinity too. Like Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, they were like, this is the game. And it was out in early access on PC, and when they released it early access on console, not a lot of people knew what they were signing up for. And Larian is more about talking to the fan base of the IP they're working on than they are about talking to you because you own a PlayStation 5. They're like, if you're interested in Baldur's Gate, here's a ton of Baldur's Gate information.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really fault them for that. I know some people got really hairy about a tweet from the official PlayStation account about playing Baldur's Gate 3 at 60 FPS on PS5 on September 6th. I'm sure someone on the PlayStation social team felt really clever with that one.
Yeah.
But you can't blame that kind of stuff on Larian. And
no, the only thing I blame Larian for is the trailers that they're releasing and intentionally not showing gameplay. That's the only thing I had to say with it. Well, and it's really only has to do with this last stretch from the PlayStation Showcase to now. And that's my only real complaint with it. Is I feel like they're going to piss off a lot of people. And I don't know. I'm not sure it's going to translate to sales necessarily, because as soon as they go look on the webpage, they're like, wait a minute, what game is this?
Well, see, I think my biggest pushback against that is the fact that there's like 7 panels from hell, and all of those have like 30 minutes of gameplay. Like, if you can't look up what you're spending $70 on, you're kind of a dumbass.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, it shouldn't be available at only a 30-minute clip. I mean, I need a quick, punchy, like a minute 30 trailer, Nick. No. That's what I need.
No, so fuck off. I am so tired of people saying they're hardcore video game watchers, but they don't have the attention span to last through a minute 30 trailer. Like, I'm done with it. Like,
I need to be quick. I need to be told what to like. I need it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what to like. It's Baldur's Gate 3, baby.
All right. Also, there's going to be bear effing, so...
Don't get me started on this. Why? Okay. All right, we're going to go down.
No, we have to talk about it.
Okay, so all these people, they're like, oh man, look at this weird stuff they're doing in Baldur's Gate. This tells me y'all did not play Dragon Age Inquisition. Literally a bull dude you can get railed by in Dragon Age Inquisition. That being said, Baldur's Gate games have always had super weird stuff in them. Larian games have always had super weird stuff in them. This is a new level of weird, I'm not gonna lie. But, like, go for it. You had a bunch of people talking about Baldur's Gate 3 that would never have talked about it until they involved a bear. But, yeah, it's marketing. You gotta get people talking about your game. I don't know if bearing it all in that trailer was was worth it for them or not, but It's one way to announce romances in your game, I guess.
Yep. Hey, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, hey, what's Starfield not doing? They're not doing 60 FPS in launch. All right, we're gonna do that. And it's like, what else they don't have? We don't have any. They don't have any sex scenes. And it's like, all right, well, we're gonna have sex scenes. All right, cool. And it's like, well, what else do they have? Well, you can't fuck any aliens.
We don't have
We're gonna make
aliens,
sure
but
you
we
can fuck
got
up
bears.
Just whatever.
Yeah, I like. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna sit out here and like protect the bear screwing. Like, I'm not gonna stand on my square for that. But once again, it's a bunch of people bandwagoning onto an IP they don't know anything about.
Yeah.
And I hope it translates to sales because I cannot stand y'all talking about this game endlessly in the lead up to it and then not playing it. I will call every single one of you out. By name, by at, whole 9 yards. I will blast your trophy list across the freaking stratosphere.
Mr. Inferno said they had to show the bare necessities.
We're not doing bear puns or else. Do you know if you say 4 bear puns in a row, Meg shows up?
Oh, God. Look, they had to do what they had to do. They had to at least hit the bare minimum.
I barely can tolerate these. All right, we're done. All right, I think this man. Oh, you took my Baldur's Gate. Shit.
You took my battleship. All right, your turn.
All right, so we were talking about this a little bit pre-show. I kind of play with it a little bit because it's interesting. So, FIFA, rest in peace, is now EA Sports FC 24. And it's really funny because until you brought it up, I never made the correlation they were the same game. I was like, oh, EA's doing another soccer game alongside FIFA? That's weird.
Oh. Yeah, you don't remember the whole thing with FIFA was that, like, oh yeah, well, there's the commissioner of FIFA or whatever his name is. He was like, oh yeah, no, we want more money for it. We're gonna take it somewhere else, and it's like, okay, take it somewhere else. It's like, oh, and so now they don't have a FIFA game this year. It's like, oh, okay, cool, because now they got to find another developer to make it from scratch. So that means what? 3 to 4 years of no FIFA.
Yep. Who wants to bet? Like, do you want to hedge your bets here? Do you think FIFA changes his mind and comes scurrying back to EA?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this was them doing what the MLB did with the show, except they had nothing to back their bet up. Where are you gonna go? Pro Evolution Soccer?
Konami's like, we can make FIFA pachinko machines.
I mean, like, it wouldn't be like the worst idea if Konami was interested in making games.
Well, and the thing is Pro Evolution Soccer is successful on its own name. Why would Konami want to pay like $100 million just to use the word FIFA in front of it?
Yeah, it's like, that's just dumb. So whatever. Like, I think they'll come crawling back. They won't do it this year, but probably next year. Right before they'll probably do. So this year they won't have a FIFA game to make money off of. Next year they won't make one, but then they'll come crawling back to EA to do it, and then they'll agree. So the next year they'll put it back on.
Yeah, I think they come crawling back before the next World Cup tournament.
Oh yeah, so that'll be fun because they're gonna have to realize one season of no FIFA sales.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? So, all right, yeah. So that was just a random thing, and I was like, okay, that's fine. I never got into FIFA, so although watching Ted Lasso lately, I might get into it later.
Oh God.
But
You really hit your 30s and went, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna get into baseball and Ted Lasso.
Baseball, Warhammer, and Ted Lasso. I
Man,
don't know what happened, Nick.
I'm so
Don't
scared.
don't hit 30.
I'm so scared, dude. I'm 2 months away. I'm so scared.
The worst part is like if you told me last year I would be into this stuff, I would have been like, no? What are you talking about?
Homie, I went to your profile and there's like 70% of your tweets are Cleveland Guardians retweets. And I'm like, what's going on?
I don't know. Kill me.
I'm terrified. We're gonna circle back to this in October of this year, and I'm gonna be into like curling and knitting or something. Like,
It's gonna be so hard. For you, I bet it's gonna be Warhammer. I feel like in my gut it's gonna be Warhammer because it hit Sam and it hit me. It's only a matter of time for you.
yeah, you're right. And with all my other current obsessions, it kind of lines up as being the next big thing, honestly.
Yeah. Also, because it's something outside of gaming, but also in gaming, so it's like,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
So.
It's weird. I've been getting really into basketball again because I've been playing with my kids. So I'm like, oh boy, is this gonna be my midlife crisis? I'm gonna be playing pickup games with old dudes. They're like, I used to could have played in the NBA.
Oh my god, it's gonna be like white men can't jump.
Except I'm gonna be playing with a little guy that thinks he's Steph Curry and he's like 5'10".
What, your son at 5?
Yeah, pretty much. Oh,
Yeah, if you guys know what we're talking about, look at pictures from on our Discord. Oh my god, your son's 11 months old and he's almost as big as your child, your like 6-year-old daughter. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he a big boy. But yeah, all right. What do you got next, sir?
All right. So on my list, I want to talk about the Twisted Metal trailer.
Ooh.
The actual real trailer. Did you see this one yet?
Yeah, it looks good. It actually looks better.
Like it looks a lot better. I still think it's stupid, but like, but I mean, anything based off of Twisted Metal is gonna be stupid. But I'm like, okay, let's see it. So I never played Twisted Metal, so please correct me. I think they changed what the story is pretty heavily. I thought like Twisted Metal was just like a gladiator arena, but in like with cars.
It basically is. Anyone who tries to tell you there's deep lore to it spent way too much time watching video essays on YouTube.
But like, the premise seems interesting. It's like, okay, post-apocalyptic world. You need runners to go from one town to another, and like drive and make stuff over. And it's post-apocalyptic. It could be pretty good. Looks like fun. I give it 1 season, maybe 2, and the only reason, and it's not going to be based off of ratings or anything. It's going to be Samoa Joe. I'm going to blame the whole thing on Samoa Joe because they're doing this thing where Samoa Joe is the body, but
Will Arnett's the voice.
Yep, and he doesn't get to show his face ever, and he doesn't get to ever speak. So they're gonna do at some point his ego is gonna kick in, and he's gonna be like, "I'm done with this. Hell no."
See, the problem is for me is like when I hear Will Arnett, it's BoJack. That's it. Like that's the only thing I hear when I hear Will Arnett talk.
He puts a little bit more nuance on it, so I'm like, okay, I could see that. But other than the rest of that, I'm like, ugh. So anyway,
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how. Like, here's the thing with like Twisted Metal. It's just like the games. They weren't amazing games. They were good games because it was just blowing up cars and stuff. So if they just blow up a bunch of stuff and have some pretty good action mixed in with some tolerable storytelling, it'll be cool. Like, this ain't gonna be like your Game of Thrones or nothing. Like, this ain't gonna be your Last of Us on HBO, but it's your Twisted Metal on Peacock?
That's a little weird one. That's such a strange one, honestly. But
It
I
just
mean, hey, these places are a little more like they're like, hey, I want to get a slice of that video game pie.
no, I feel like, see, the thing to me is it feels like they're throwing it away. Like, Sony's like, oh man, we got The Last of Us. That's a premium product. We want to get the best, like, best cast, best directors, HBO. And then they're like, hey, who wants to do the Twisted Metal show? Give that to Peacock.
No, I feel like Peacock bidded for it, and I guess because on paper it fills in a lot of blanks for them. Because I am a Peacock subscriber, so I got Peacock, I got Disney Plus and Hulu and all the rest of that stuff. I have access to it, so I got Netflix. But like for Peacock, there's really no like definitive like this is the thing beyond Yellowstone. Like it is the Yellowstone service. And so for them, they're looking just for anything else. So like really right now they got like I've actually pulled up right now. So for them, they're like, oh, Crappy Lake. Welcome to Crappy Lake. It's like for shit, like the opposite of Schitt's Creek. Like Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Oh God! Wait, hold up. Real Housewives of Atlanta is one of your front banner shows? Hooey.
Well, like they have other shows on here, but it's mostly like NBC sitcoms that are off the air. And so it's like they got like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Parks and Rec, 30 Rock. Those are good shows, but like they don't have anything like as like a definitive, hey, you have to subscribe to watch this thing as it comes out. Honestly, the best thing about Peacock is movies, because they get like first run movies that like come through, like they drop here first. Like what was it, Cocaine Bears on here, Renfield, which actually was great. When the Jurassic World Dominion came out, like it was like within a month it was on Peacock. Like there's tons of stuff like that. They get a bunch of movies like first run, like literally before they hit anywhere else. Some cases before they even hit like digital, like to buy it digital. So they have a lot of options, but they just don't like they don't have anything recent is the problem. Because the recent stuff they do have, nobody wants. So on paper, Twisted Metal works because it's your own post-apocalyptic thing. So you can kind of pull in the Last of Us crowd, and also like Walking Dead, like the whole post-apocalyptic group. You can pull those people in, and then at the same time, it's got Cars, which no one else is really doing car stuff right now, in terms of like their focus. But then it's like, okay, it's also a video game thing, so they could work with that. That's something they could actually do, but. I don't know how long this lasts once the Fallout show drops.
Yeah.
So, because the car thing will be the only thing it's got at that point. So,
man, that Fallout show is gonna be good.
Dude, Megan's been sending me like little leaked like sets and stuff, and it looks really good.
Aesthetically, they've got it down. Now they just gotta nail the rest.
Yeah, and I mean they got the perfect actor for it. Walter Goggins is great. So he's the perfect Fallout energy. So I want to see what they end up doing with it overall, but we'll see. But
yeah, honestly, they could just do the storyline of the first game as the show, and no one would know because it's so.
I don't even think you do that. I think you make your completely original story.
Yeah,
do something completely different. Like if you wanted to have some fun with it. Do like, hey, the first season we're in the Capital Wasteland, and we're completely separate from everywhere else.
See,
like we were talking about earlier with the NPC story.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, like I'm just some guy. Like, hey, I've been fighting slavers in the Paradise Falls. See, it's like, oh well, okay.
What scares me about an original Fallout story is like if it's really good, I'm gonna be pissed that I can't play it as a video game.
Yeah,
but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think it's cool to see some of these adaptations coming along and whatnot, and like I think what's his name, Mackie. I think he'll be
Yeah, I think
he'll be good.
Oh, Anthony Mackie's a great actor. Like I watched
Yeah.
him in The Banker. Great performance.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah. Let's see. Other than that, anything? What was your next topic?
So there's an interview with Grant Kirkhope, who's the composer behind the ukulele games, as well as the Banjo Kazooie games, and I quote: "He's unsure the audience is there for a new game." I'm going to use the full quote because I don't want to misquote him because he worked on Banjo Kazooie, so I want to give him the full credit here. He said he questioned whether the audience was truly there for a new game. I feel like you'd have to get a team with the humor that we had back then that's hard to replicate. I think Rare would be open to somebody if they found the right team, but I don't feel like that team exists. Also, I'm not convinced the audience is there either. I don't feel like there are that many Banjo fans out there.
Wrong.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. From now on, I'm weaponizing this. I don't care if I have to use Twitter. I don't care if I have to use Threads. I don't care if I gotta use your mama's Instagram. I am going to forcibly bring Banjo Kazooie back to relevance. This has to happen. Like, there's no world where Ratchet and Clank is viable, but Banjo Kazooie isn't. Like, this makes me so inexplicably angry. Like, I want Banjo.
Is he wrong exactly though? I mean, it's been a long time since the last Banjo Kazooie game, and like they've done nothing to foster the IP. So
all I need you to
like
do is go look at trailer reactions to Banjo Kazooie hitting Smash Brothers, and then come back.
Okay, but it's Smash Bros.
No, people were excited about Banjo. No one gives a crap about Smash Bros. You want to talk about washed out IPs? Psh. Who plays video games with their family anymore? Who even has family?
All right, well, quick kick the squatters out of your house, Nick. But I mean,
I agree, Mr. Inferno too. If goddamn Trash Bandicoot can get a new game in 2022, Banjo at least deserves an attempt because Crash Bandicoot is garbage in comparison to Banjo Kazooie.
I will not disagree with that. The only thing with the Crash Bandicoot was they actually did the remake first. They remade the first 3 games. So, like, look, it's not because they took that time and they reminded. And also, remember, too, Crash Bandicoot had other games for the last 20 years. Like, they had that support.
No, they didn't. Name me any of those games.
I remember the covers more than anything else, which is really
hold on. No. We got real into this. Hold on. Let me look. Crash Bandicoot games.
And I'm not counting any Skylander clones. So
okay, no Skylander clones. So hold on. I just want to make sure got the rules clear here. Oh God. Main series. Why wouldn't you put them in order? Yeah, so in terms of main series, there was a 12-year gap where they didn't have anything.
Okay, let's see. So I'm just talking about anything, just period anything, as long as it's not that. So they had Crash Bandicoot 1, Cortex Strikes Back with 2, Warped, Wrath of Cortex was in 2001, Twin Sanity, which is 2004, Crash of Titans in 2007, Mind Over Mutant 2008, and then so that's the last of the mainline ones before Crash Bandicoot 4. They had I'm looking at the timeline again. They had Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled in 2019, Crash Tag Team Racing in 2005. Sorry, I went back too far. Crash Bash came out 2000. Boom Bang came out in 2006. Crash Team Rumble came out this year. So, I mean, they had stuff. Like, yeah, they had a little bit of a period of time where there was nothing. But at the same time, they at least had something.
Well, it's not my
And
fault Microsoft doesn't know what to
they
do.
had something, though. They still did the time to remake the first 3 before they made a new game.
I don't care. Do Banjo Redooey and then do Banjo 3E. I do not care how they do this. They do not. Banjo deserves respect.
Banjo Redooey needs to happen. That name is just too good.
Like, this is my problem, is there is no world at all where Microsoft could sit on all this dead IP and just go, I guess Rare can make Everwild. Nobody asked for that. If there's 5 people asking for Banjo, that's 5 more people than were asking for Everwild.
See, I'm saying these. I think right now, I would say there's not enough demand for Banjo. Like right now. Now, if they do a remake, yeah, I think if they do that, it'll come back immediately.
It infuriates me so much more where you have a world where we have Game Pass to supplement bringing something back, and they're just like, nah, leave it dead. Like, goddamn GoldenEye came back.
Well, did it though? Did you play that?
Yeah, I played it and I beat it.
I was like, damn, you guys put no work into this? Okay.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to say. It's like, I am sick to death of Microsoft. This is what pissed me off the ABK stuff too. Is they're like, oh well, we need bigger IP. I'm like, y'all don't nurture the IPs you have. Banjo's in a fucking graveyard with Conker right now. Like, I understand why you can't bring Conker back, okay? Because
Conker would be good. That's why.
Yeah. Hold on. This show needs to take a 14-hour pause while I drive down to North Carolina.
Look, Conker was only successful back then because it was rude and crude, and it was like, what? Could be possible. But now games do that all the time. It's like, all right, whatever. This doesn't. But like, Conker isn't like an interesting character or anything. He's just like, all right, well, fine.
I cannot believe I am on a podcast with a man filled with this much slander.
I mean, this is coming from the person who, like, Banjo is like one of my top 3 platformers of all time. So I just look, I just don't care enough about Conker at all. But like I said, it's one of those things where it's like the guy saying he's not wrong. I wish it wasn't true, but he's not wrong right now. But that's all I stand on that. You guys will see in this guy's face, he has unbridled fury right now. He's just holding it back for civility's sake.
What's your next topic, buddy?
How David Jaffe can suck my grundle. Why? What's yours?
All right, Cheat Code Radio, the only place you can go from Banjo Redooey to David Jaffe can lick my grundle.
Look, let's talk about this for a minute. So, it's no secret that Lord Cognito is a friend of both of us here at Cheat Code Radio. We saw something over the weekend that really pissed us off. I don't know about Nick. Nick doesn't care about anybody, but I know it pissed me off. So, so on the latest Constellation from Last Stand Media, which is their Patreon only show, I believe, David Jaffe. For those of you who don't know who David Jaffe is, I can't get mad at you. I just want you to imagine Randy Quaid post COVID, and yeah, that's about right. So,
I'm gonna have to turn my camera off and my microphone for this section. I'm not gonna be able to keep it together.
So David Jaffe is the creator of Twisted Metal and the first two games of God of War. Which God of War, the first game, was a really great game. So I'm not gonna knock the guy's game making ability. It's not about that. So David Jaffe recently has kind of fallen on hard times. He released Drawn to Death on PlayStation Plus. And I would try to get like figures for this, but correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that like the only game that PlayStation Studios dropped directly into PlayStation Plus? Like from the jump at the time?
That was. See, I don't want to be inaccurate with information, but that was one of the early PlayStation Plus drops where a game launched in PlayStation
dropped
Plus.
Other games into PlayStation Plus day one, but never any of their own products.
Yeah.
Like the last time they did that I could recall was like PlayStation All Stars.
Like when I'm thinking PlayStation Plus drop-ins, it was like Rocket League hit PlayStation Plus at launch. Fall Guys hit PlayStation Plus at launch. Which all
there were other games, but those were not games made by PlayStation.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
So, I mean, I could be wrong, but anyway, he's fallen on hard times. He started up his own YouTube channel. And I don't agree with the man a lot of stuff, but for the most part, he's been fairly civil. Although he said some really dumb shit, like just really, really dumb. I'm not gonna get into the specifics. I know Nick remembers some specific stuff that he said over the years, but this most recent one is what I'm getting at today. So on Constellation, which I believe dropped today. I'm not on Patreon, so I don't really particularly know. This is a show with Last Stand Media where they have some guy, I don't know who he is, don't care. Colin Moriarty, the head of Last Stand Media and Sacred Symbols. Then they have Maddie Plays, who is one of the co-hosts for Defining Duke. And they had a guest, and then they had David Jaffe on. And they were having a discussion about why does Xbox have all these cheerleaders? And they got in this discussion about executives. And David Jaffe kind of pulls off this thing about like, oh, well, like it's this thing about they're making their executives available to people. But the thing is, they're not genuine. They don't care about you. All they do is they just want to sell you a product, which is not wrong. Fair. And it's like, oh, when I used to work in the industry, I was always working the floor. Like I wasn't lying to people, but I was very clearly there to sell my product. I don't really care. And I was like, all right, still fair. Like that's not nothing wrong with that. And he's like, oh, well, just off the top of my head, and this is not anything personal, but there's this picture floating around of Lord Incognito from Iron Lords with Sarah Bond. And like, don't you think that's a bit odd? Don't you think that's like a conflict of interest or something? And it's like basically bringing this up and starting this discussion. And basically the idea is that he's implying that Cognito and the Iron Lords and the rest of them are not objective individuals because they take pictures with executives. And that they're more willing to forgive Microsoft and cheerlead for them because they make their executives more available. So I got a couple of things. One, on the merits of the argument itself, yes, executives are there to sell you a product. If you go to an event and you meet an executive, they're not there just to meet you and be friendly. They're trying to persuade you to get a product. That's not incorrect. That's a fair statement. That's an accurate assessment of the situation. As someone who's gone to E3 and seen that, you know everybody's on, and that's fine. They're just trying to sell you on a product to be nice. there's an extra level to that where that goes even further. Like one of the ones individually I think about is with Graham Boyd or AC Bongos from the European team. When I met him in 2016, literally every event we went to, he remembered my name and explicitly went out of his way to say hi to me. And then ask how I was doing, if he could do anything to help. Even like at the Bethesda show and other stuff too, I was like, this is not your event. What are you talking about? Like, what are you doing? But like we talked for like 5 minutes, like every event that we went to. And I was like, that's just an extra level. Like, that's not just working the room. That's being a genuinely good person. Mm-hmm. Like, does it sway me as a person who's there at E3 specifically to meet and greet and network for Tick Podcast? Is that a conflict of interest? No. Because I mean, I have the guy there and I'm talking to him. Now, if I go through and I get a review code copy and I'm like, you know what? Graham Boyd was really nice to me. I'm going to give Sea of Thieves a 10 out of 10. You know, maybe that's a little dishonest, but that's not. You're implying that these individuals are like inherently skewed because of this, because you're just around people. But sorry, that argument in and of itself is silly, because the individuals who are going to these events are people who, yes, are fans, and most of them who are going aren't they're not journalists or anything. They don't have to be objective. But the people who are going and the people you're making a big problem about, I mean, you're acting like they're not getting anything out of it either. Like, no, they're getting a network contact so they can get them on the show later. Mm-hmm. Like, duh. That's how networking works. We all can't be developers who just, I created a game 20 years ago and just be able to be like, oh yeah, I gotta just decide, like, oh yeah, I can have, I can show some discretion. And it's like, well, I don't want this person on my show, or I don't want to be on that thing here and left and there. You got to work your ass off. And I know Fame is another individual who goes through this, and he had to work his ass off to get contacts and be where he is today. Mm-hmm. So it's little things like that. But back to the topic at hand. So the argument is silly because it implies that everyone's like a 5-year-old that can't read social cues. So the other thing about this too is that David Jaffe specifically picked Cognito and did several things that were very disrespectful, which I had a problem with. One was you kept calling him Lord Incognito, which that's dumb no matter what you say, because I was like, I'm just used to saying incognito. It's like, you act like you don't know this person. You begged to be on Iron Lords. And the reason I know is because I did the thumbnail. I know. I was aware before most people are aware. And that's just silly for you to pretend like you don't know who this is. Like, that's dishonest and just rude. And the other thing too is you did this on a show that, one, you kind of ruined already, because you recorded it and then posted it before it went live for the Patreon viewers, and you just kind of like took Colin's content away. I don't know if I'm off on that one, but it just seems really dumb that you took their content away, and then the day before it's supposed to come out, you spoil it by saying, "Oh, look, there's this beef thing going on here," and doing it like not apology, but like, I'm going to explain myself for this comment beforehand, so you can milk content out of it. But you also did it on the show with ostensibly Cog's boss and then Cog's co-host. And that's just extremely rude that you're going on that show with those two people to talk about essentially their friend and employee. And he's not even there to defend himself. Like, I found that to be extremely disingenuous, and then also mostly about lying and pretending like you didn't know who he was, or like, I just didn't know, like, and just being like Mr. Hollywood, but also just some like low quality man shit. I just, if you're gonna talk shit to someone, you talk shit to their face. and I would gladly tell this to David Javi personally too, but I just found that extremely rude on his part. And like I said, I think it was motivated though because he has been desperate for content, and this has happened before where he'll say something and then try to milk it for as long as he possibly can, and I find a major problem with that. So, but that's my opinion. Nick, did you have anything to say about this? I just ranted for like 10 minutes.
No, see, for me, it's really quite simple for me. Jaffe to me has outed himself several times on the type of person that he is, and that's not a person I respect. He tried to make an argument about what players would do in a trophy by making comparisons to the gay nightclub shooting. He's made fun of mentally handicapped kids during that Xbox promo. Backpedaled that really hard. Like, he's done several things to me that has spoke volumes to me as who he is as a person. So him doing this is really not the worst thing he's done. So that doesn't inherently surprise me. What inherently surprises me is that going after one of the few people in the industry space that basically has love for everybody. I have never seen Cognito beef with someone publicly. I don't even know about him beefing with people privately. He's always been direct with me, and I've worked with this man for years. Literally years. Like, from when ILP joined Tick Network, I've worked with Cog, to working on LogNet with him for the past on and off almost 4 years now. Like, he has been nothing but professional, and something that we've hammered home with the website is, like, we don't need access if it's not given. Like, we talk about it constantly of making sure that, you know, if your review lines up with your actual thoughts of the game. Like, I don't care if Microsoft, Square Enix, Take-Two, or whoever provided you a code. If you think the game's a 5 out of 10, then it's a 5 out of 10. We are not changing a score to make a publisher happy. We are not adjusting anything. We gave Redfall a 6 out of 10, just like pretty much everybody else. We like the thing that bothers me the most is, like, you can be a fan of something and geek out about meeting people that made the games or helped make the games happen you have, and still remain objective. I've never found COG to be a corporate defender ever. There's tons I could give you a list of dudes that I find are corporate defenders that do all this stuff that would be better examples of this. But that's not who we used. There's even guys with bigger platforms that I think are better examples of this. But they weren't the ones that were used.
Yeah. I found it really funny because I didn't watch Constellations, but I know the clip that Jaffe showed specifically was like, you're talking to Colin about like taking pictures with execs when Colin and Greg literally had a picture with Shuhei Yoshida in their own house, giving him making dinner for him. It's like, that's worse.
And see, this is my thing. It's like, I don't want to hit a space where we can't be excited. Like, I don't want creators I follow not to be excited about meeting people. Like, I don't want that to be the environment we live in, because in my world, not everyone has to be a miserable old prick like David Jaffe is.
Yeah,
and that's my biggest problem with it, is like, if you find enjoyment in this industry, you enjoy making content in this industry, and you try to be objective as you can. We all have personal biases and favorites and everything else, but so many people do such a piss poor job of being objective, and the literal one person you decide to point out is one of the most openly, this is my opinion alone people. It's stupid to me. Like I said, you could make this argument about 10 other people, but specifically with Cognito, it makes no sense to me. And
Like Cog's like the guy who will take a picture with anybody. Like, hey, yeah, like, and also too, like, why would you not want to take a picture with Sarah Bond? Like, I mean, she's pretty much tapped to be the next head of Xbox. Like, why not?
what kills me with all this is like I always laugh because like my feed when Cog goes to an event is Cog with dudes I don't even know, because like he'll take a picture and talk games with anyone. Like he does at least like that Xbox event. On Summer's Games Fest, I swear he probably talked to like 90 plus people and took photos with them. That's networking, baby. You're talking to people. You're getting out there. Like, I've never been able to do that. I've never been to an event. COVID legitimately took the E3 I was approved for away. And now E3's dead. And events are super exclusive to get into, and they're hard as hell to get into if you're not on a big site. So likelihood of me ever going to any of these events is like 0. So it's cool that these guys get these opportunities. They work their asses off for this opportunities. And to have somebody who makes YouTube videos in their basement being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian, trying to detract from the work these people do, is just ridiculous to me. That's legitimately all I'll say on the matter. Is like, you look at Jaffe's track record and you look at Cognito's track record. Who are you listening to?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone just look at their view count. So I ain't go for that. All right. Anything else you want to cover tonight, or we wrap up?
I think that's a good place to wrap up.
All right. Well.
Wait, yeah, I do the outro thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so that's been episode 24 of Cheat Code Radio. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to us and enjoyed the rambling from industry stuff to banjo to everything else in between. So don't forget to hit the like button, if you will. It really helps us out algorithmically. Share us on all your social medias, whether it's Threads, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Really try and make a push for 100 subs right now. We're at 34 right now. And just appreciate everyone that shows up and checks us out afterwards. Appreciate all the support as always. Don't be afraid to clip us either. I definitely don't feel bad taking us out of context because, hell, it's a great way of getting publicity, apparently. So, Anchor, any closing thoughts or positive affirmations for the week?
It will be okay if we don't get an announcement this week for Judge Corley. Everyone just chill out. Like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Yeah. So, that's it. That's all my only affirmations or anything to say. If you want to talk to me, you catch me on Threads or on Twitter at AnchormanV2, or you can even jump in our Discord and have a good time. So, good stuff.
Absolutely. And don't forget,
we're doing movie nights on a more regular basis. Ooh. So that's always fun. We just got done watching all the Indiana Jones movies, so over a period of like a week.
Nice. Yeah, and I'm Nicholas Downey. You can find me on Twitter at NicholasCC Radio. And you can also find me on Threads and everything, anywhere else. You can find all my written work at lordsofgaming.net. And next week, you'll want to tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because new content for the channel going to be rolling out probably next week. We'll be announcing it anyways, just firming up a few things here. So you'll want to definitely keep an eye out for that. We'll be talking about that at the start of the show next week. So appreciate the support as always, and we'll see you guys next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye for now.